When I first decided to learn English, I didn't really know where to start. I remember thinking, okay, I need to watch movies in English, maybe listen to songs, and that's it. So, the first thing I did was write down the alphabet. I practiced it every day, saying each letter out loud, sometimes in funny voices just to make it less boring. My cat, Mr. Whiskers, looked at me like I was completely crazy, but I didn't care. After I learned the alphabet, I started learning basic words. I wrote down words like cat, dog, house, and tree. I even labeled things around my room with sticky notes. Door, window, chair. Walking around my room became like a little treasure hunt, and every time I saw a word, I tried to say it out loud. Sometimes I said it wrong and it sounded funny, but laughing at myself became part of the process. Next, I realized I needed to understand how sentences work. So I learned very simple sentences. I am happy. You are my friend. This is a pen. I started speaking these sentences to myself in the mirror. At first, it felt weird, like I was acting in a movie, but slowly it started to feel natural. After a week, I started listening to English songs. I didn't understand everything, but I tried to write down words I recognized. Sometimes I sang along, even if it didn't make sense. One day I sang "I Like Pizza" perfectly, even though the song wasn't about pizza at all. That moment made me realize that repetition helps a lot. Then I watched cartoons in English. I chose ones with subtitles first, because I needed to match the sounds with the words. The first time I heard a character say, "Run, run, run," I ran around my room pretending I was in a chase scene. It was silly, but it was fun, and I remembered the words easily. After some days, I tried reading small books in English. I picked stories about animals and adventures. One story was about a rabbit who wanted to fly. I didn't know all the words, so I guessed the meaning from the pictures. Sometimes I was wrong and the rabbit wasn't flying at all. It was just jumping. But that mistake helped me remember the word jump. Speaking practice was the hardest part. I felt shy and worried I would sound silly. So, I started talking to myself in English while doing simple tasks like cooking or cleaning. I am cooking eggs. I am washing dishes. I am opening the window. After a few weeks, I noticed that I could say these sentences without thinking too much. One day I found an English learning app. It had games, quizzes, and even stories. I loved the little challenges. I learned words like forest, ocean, adventure, and treasure. I imagined myself in those places while saying the words. It made learning exciting, like I was on a journey. I also started paying attention to pronunciation. I listened to native speakers and repeated what they said. I recorded myself, and sometimes I sounded funny, like a parrot with a lisp, but I kept practicing. I noticed that some sounds were really tricky, like in think or R in river. I practiced them every day, sometimes for 10 minutes, sometimes for an hour. Grammar came next. I learned about simple tenses: present, past, and future. I eat, I ate, I will eat. First, it was confusing. I kept mixing them up, saying things like "I will ate" or "I eat yesterday." I laughed at myself every time, but slowly it became easier. After understanding tenses, I focused on questions. What is this? Where are you going? How do you say? I practiced asking questions to myself and answering them. Sometimes I asked my reflection in the mirror. Where are you going, Leo? I am going to the kitchen. Felt silly, but it helped a lot. Vocabulary became a big part of my day. I learned words about nature, food, emotions, and even funny things like giggle and sneeze. Whenever I saw a new word, I tried to use it in a sentence. The rabbit giggles in the forest. I sneeze when I eat spicy food. Making sentences made words stick in my mind. I started listening to English podcasts too. Some were stories, some were interviews. I didn't understand everything, but I picked up new words and expressions. Sometimes I paused and repeated phrases. Once upon a time, in a magical forest. I imagined the forest in my head and said it over and over. Speaking with other people in English was scary at first. I joined online language groups. I typed messages, then I started talking in voice chats. My first sentence was, "Hello, I am Leo. I like cats." Everyone smiled and I felt proud. Over time, I told jokes, shared stories, and even argued a little. All in English. I realized mistakes were part of learning. If I said, "I go to the store," someone would correct me, and I would remember it forever. Laughing at mistakes became fun. Learning English stopped being work, it became a game. Writing was another step. I started keeping a journal in English. Every day I wrote small things. Today I ate a sandwich. I saw a squirrel. I laughed a lot. Slowly, my sentences became longer and more complex. I added details. The squirrel jumped over the fence and almost landed in my soup. It was hilarious. I also watched movies without subtitles. At first, it was impossible to understand. I smiled, shrugged, and kept watching. Slowly, I understood words, expressions, and jokes. The funny parts made me laugh out loud. The exciting parts made my heart race. Reading books, listening, speaking, and writing together improved everything. I noticed I could understand songs, follow short stories, and even tell little stories myself. I started dreaming in English too. Sometimes I woke up and remembered a sentence from my dream. The octopus wore sunglasses and danced in the rain. Over time, I realized consistency was key. Every day, even 10 minutes, mattered. Small steps added up. Mistakes didn't stop me. Fun helped me remember. And slowly, I went from knowing a few words to understanding, speaking, and even laughing in English. Now, learning English felt like an adventure. Every new word was a treasure. Every conversation was a mini quest. And even though I still make mistakes, I know that with patience, curiosity, and a little laughter, I can continue exploring the magical world of English. Then I decided to take it further. I started describing my day in English to myself. Today I walked in the park. I saw 3 ducks. One duck looked very funny, almost like it was wearing sunglasses. I laughed at my own sentences, but it helped me think in English naturally. Next, I tried making small stories. I wrote about a cat named Whiskers who traveled the world. Whiskers sailed across the ocean and met a dancing crab. I added details, funny actions, and imaginary conversations. Each story made me practice new words, new sentences, and new ideas. I also started shadowing. I listened to short English clips and repeated exactly what I heard, copying the tone, rhythm, and expression. Sometimes I sounded too dramatic, sometimes robotic, but it trained my ears and mouth to work together. To improve faster, I combined everything. I read, listened, spoke, and wrote in English every day. I talked to myself, imagined adventures, described objects, and even sang songs. Words became friends, sentences became games, and learning English turned into a fun habit I looked forward to every day. After a few months, I noticed a huge difference. I could understand stories without subtitles. I could explain my thoughts, feelings, and funny ideas. I could even joke in English. Learning English no longer felt impossible. It felt like exploring a magical world full of surprises, laughter, and tiny victories. Now, every day is a new adventure in English. Sometimes I meet words I don't know, sometimes I make silly mistakes, sometimes I discover exciting expressions. Each day is an opportunity to practice, enjoy, and improve. And I know that as long as I stay curious, consistent, and a little silly, English will always be an exciting journey for me. This version is roughly 2 times longer than the previous one and should give about 20 minutes of listening at a relaxed pace.